Bikes are already on the pre-grid, so let's get down to Jake Zemke, who has more.
We're down here with Tony Elias. Tony, you're on pole, but the top 4 riders were all within 1/10 of a second. Do you expect a 4-way battle?
Yeah, we will see. I don't know what will be the pace. At the beginning, sure will be 4 riders in front fighting a lot, but after 5 laps, we have to see the reality, what will be my pace, what will be the other guy's pace, and after that, when I see the reality, I'll decide what I have to do. If I have to wait, if I have to push, we will see. I don't know at this moment.
All right, good luck, Tony.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much, Jake. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back, so hang tight. Right here on beIN Sports, we're going to get Superbike Race 1 started in a few moments. Welcome back to MotoAmerica Superbike Championship of Utah. It's round number 7. We are at Utah Motorsports Campus. If you're joining us for the first time, meaning you weren't here yesterday with us, this is formerly Miller Motorsports Park, now Utah Motorsports Campus, with good reason. And we're no longer in Tooele, Utah. We're in Grantsville, Utah, as they rezoned or something like that. We can see that riders are on the grid right now. They have umbrellas up. There's been a slight delay in the program as we take a look at Tony Elias, who sits on pole in this one, a 1:49.613. All these riders, of course, professionals, and we can see that the 3-minute board looks to be up down there in the left-hand part of your screen. So that's going to indicate to the crew that are out there now that you've got to start thinking about clearing, get those generators shut down, get those tire warmers off, because we're getting ready to get this whole race underway now. Utah check this out. So this is Jake Gagne's motorcycle. This is part of the GoPro HeroCast cameras being tested this weekend. Now the onboards are going to be on Jake Gagne, 32, and number 95, Roger Hayden. Adam Martin and the GoPro intern Quincy have been working all weekend with us right here on beIN to test the GoPro HeroCast onboard systems. So it's a test that we're running with GoPro, and it's going to be some pictures that we're going to get this weekend, and it's hopefully going to be quite a treat. Can you imagine if Roger Hayden gets out front and we have a shot out the back, what it's going to look like with these 3 riders ripping 180 miles an hour down this straightaway?
No, it's going to be great, and it's awesome that GoPro's here, and those guys have been working really hard. We've seen them on our ISO camera, on our ISO screens a lot during the weekend in the pits, working the cameras, and we've seen them being tested and things, and it's just going to be one more thing that I know a lot of people out there, you know, they want to see the onboard coverage, and this is going to give us another step here at beIN that we're going to be able to show some of that.
All right, let's take a look at the starting grid right now. Qualifying yesterday, we saw it. Tony Elias, 1:49.613, absolute ripper of a lap. But you know what? Cambobier was just a couple ticks off. So was Roger Hayden. Josh Hayes. How do you do a 1:49.733 and end up 4th on the grid? That's what Hayes was wondering. And Josh Aaron, the first super stock machine, he was able to do a 1:49.922 when he put his soft qualifying tire on there and went out with Tony Elias.
Only 3/10 off. When we go back to row 4 here, Matthew Schultz, who was again very quick this morning in warm-up. We haven't talked about him yet today because he's 10th on the grid, though. Sheridan Marias, we've had some great discussions with him. Jake Lewis, Bobby Fong, we just saw Jake talk to him on row 5. Next to him, Taylor Knapp, David Anthony on row 6. Hayden Gillum, who also has been struggling a little bit this weekend. We go back to row 7. We've got our Ducati in the field. Corey Alexander still working on some setup issues on that bike. Max Flinders, Barrett Long. Row 8, Daytona Anderson, Frankie Babushka, Anthony Kaczynski. And row 9, we got Sam Verdugo, Darren James, and Roy Holster.
So there we go, as that is the starting grid. This is the warm-up lap. So now motorcycles have had an opportunity to get their gear off, get their visor down, and now, how crucial is this, Jason, at this particular racetrack?
I always think that the warm-up lap can tell you a story. And here's a great shot looking out the back of Roger's bike at Danny Eslick. So these are, you guys can see out there that it's just not a cloud in the sky right now. So I can safely say it's not going to rain today, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's, you know, MotoAmerica, wherever we go, it seems to rain. I think we're safe today, but what a beautiful shot we have right out the back. But I talked about getting your intensity levels up, and if you saw who led him to turn 1 off the warm-up lap, it was Josh Hayes from row 2. He, you know, you can see him here. He's trying to put in a hard, good warm-up lap. The real thing is that, you know, even though the track temperature is not as high as it was yesterday, you want to come to the grid with the idea and the feeling that my tires are ready to go. You want to leave nothing left out on the track for your warm-up lap. Go ahead and get those tires nice and warm so that when you go running off into turn 1 with all these guys here in about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, you know that everything's ready to go and things are up to temperature. So you'll see a couple riders there that they have their hands up. They're midway through the lap, and what they're generally doing is they want to get to the grid last because they feel like their tires are going to be warmest when they get right back. They don't want to be sitting on the grid for an extended period of time.
Now, Jason, we have Superbike and Superstock 1000 in this race. So let's talk about the keys to the race.
Well, keys to the race for me, controlled aggression. And that is for the 4 guys in the championship contention. The controlled aggression has to be, yeah, they all want to win races, but none of them want to make too big of a mistake to take themselves out of this championship. So I think controlled aggression is going to play a big part in today and at Laguna Seca. Once they get to Jersey, they're going to be able to make more of a plan. We saw Jake Zemke talk to Jake Gagne just now. It's great to see this young guy back. He's really one of our future stars. He's already quite accomplished. I'm just happy to see him back on the grid. Watching his bike this weekend, it does look better, so he looked a little bit more comfortable. And, of course, Josh Herrin's streak, can it continue? Josh Herrin has won the last 4 races in Superstock. Again, he's only 3/10 off of qualifying on pole here today. I think he's going to be another very hard charger, and can that streak continue?
All right, let's go down to Jake Zemke with a last-minute report. Jake?
Yeah, guys, you know, these racers, they're so set in what they do and how they prepare to get ready for each race. Start delays like this can sometimes set them off a little bit of their normal routine, and sometimes you can end up messing up your start from that. So we'll have to keep a close eye on the grid to see who gets this whole shot and who's mentally prepared for it.
There you go. All right, thanks, Jake, because not only messing up the start might mean you might blow the start, but you don't want to jump the start either, because if you jump the start, that means you're going to roll out of that little box. That could spell disaster. So here we go. Utah Motorsports Campus, race number 1 of the Superbikes, and we're underway. It's a long drag to turn number 1, and Joe, looked like Roger Hayden.
Josh Hayes, what a start from the second row for Josh Hayes. He wants to get out front, try to control this pace. If Roger leads into turn 1, he's going to have that whole Superbike field behind him, but it's going to be Josh Hayes leading the way with Cameron Beaubier right behind him. Tony Elias tucks in right behind him.
So Josh Hayes, number 4, did the double here last year. There's a good look at our onboard shot. That's Hayden right behind. There's Josh Herrin, number 2.
He was trying to ride around the outside of him in turn 1, Greg.
And Josh Herrin told me he really wants to try to stick with these Superbikes the first lap or 2. Oh, and Claudio Corti, look at that. They almost touched. That was so close. Claudio on the number 71 in that Aprilia. So Josh Herrin really desperate to stay with these top 4. He was hoping that with the pace of these Superbikes that they're going to be able to drag him away from the battle he has in Superstock 1000. So that was incredible shots from our GoPro HeroCast onboard. As we look now at the number 1, that's Cameron Beaubier.
Yeah, and what I'm looking at here is great to see. We haven't seen Josh go to the front like this in a few races now and look as confident as he looks going. It was really funny. When I watched him on the warm-up lap, I thought, wow, he looks like he's really ready to go today. He's really plugged in, and right off the bat just gets a great start. We see that Jake Gagne is slowly making his way forward. He's got by Claudio Corti. He's got Josh Herrin right in front of him. He wants to get back and tag on. Oh, big crash. That looks like Kyle Wyman, I believe.
The 33 of Kyle Wyman loses the front end of the motorcycle, and off the track he goes. That motorcycle with a big tumble. Yep, and it looks like he's all beefcake muscled out because he's got an air suit there,
Yeah,
JP.
that Dainese air suit's done its job again with these riders. It's so nice to see these guys be able to get back up. He's crashed at the exit of the Attitudes. So that is going to be, it's going to be a third gear corner just rolling on, but he might have caught his engine case on the inside curbing there. We'll have to go back and see if we get another look at that, but you can see Cameron Beaubier has gone with Josh Hayes. He's tagged right onto the back of him, and Tony Elias and Roger Hayden got a little bit of a gap to make up, but they got plenty of time. And one of the things I'll tell you right now, Tony Elias is so strong into turn 1. We went down there and watched him down there so fast into there, and he's got kind of a unique way of getting himself into that turn. But right now, these 2 Yamahas are trying to do the checkout move on the 2 Yosh Suzukis.
Josh Hayes, number 4, Monster Energy, Graves Yamaha, Cameron Beaubier. So the Suzuki's proving earlier on in the weekend how fast they are with qualifying on the pole position. Tony Elias, number 24, right back there with Roger Hayden. So Hayes now deep into the corner, sending it sideways. continuously working and working and working on this motorcycle to make it more and more comfortable for him. There is no give up in Josh Hayes. There is no question about that, as now Tony Elias starting to close the gap ever so slightly in this particular section. Tony Elias, Jason, told me that even though this is going to be his first race ever here, he got an impression from his communication with his crew and talking to other riders as well, that even if you lose the draft, that there is plenty of time, plenty of racetrack, plenty of corners here to make up time and close the gap.
Absolutely no question on that. You can definitely do that. We're going to look back here. We'll see Kyle Wyman. Yep. He caught the engine case, Greg. That's exactly what I felt could have happened. He was off the inside of the bike, and if you look, that front tire never tucks. You can see that the motion that when he loses it because the bike just kind of high-centered itself over that curbing. So all he did was make the slightest little misjudgment on how close he was to that curbing, and it was just enough to knock him off the inside of the bike.
Here's a look. There it was the GoPro HeroCast onboard, and man, that motorcycle took a beating. So unfortunately for him, and that happens here.
I feel horrible for him because he's been doing so well the last few rounds. He's really been getting that bike up to speed as we complete lap 2. So hopefully Kyle and his crew can get that bike back together before the next round later on this afternoon.
So continuing up front, Josh Hayes leading the way. Beaubier right there, though, on his tail section. And you can see, though, coming out of that corner, the Yamaha seem very strong coming out of that final corner, as definitely those Suzukis need to keep that roll speed up in order to keep the pressure on these two out front.
Well, how about 50 flat? So they've gone 50 flat, has Josh Hayes, as well as Roger Hayden back and forth. They're all running the same kind of pace. It's just that little tiny bit of a gap that there has been created in the early stages. Raj Hayden is trying hard right now to go underneath his teammate for that third spot. Just in the back of our camera ground there, we saw Raj. He made the pass, but he looked like he probably ran a little bit wide, and Tony was able to cut it back underneath him. So maybe Raj is feeling like that pace is just a little bit slowed up for him as he ran wide in turn 6. That's a corner that can really draw you in a little bit too fast. You feel like you've got all your entry speed controlled, but then it kind of draws you in a little bit. But Raj looks like he's got some pace. He wanted to try to get by Tony, so he tried his first time. So let's see what he's going to do leading up to it. But those guys start messing with each other too much, Greg, then we're going to have a problem. But you made a great point earlier. This is the kind of track where if you lose the lead draft down that front straightaway, you can still make up time in the next 3 sectors around this place.
Lap times right now incredibly fast, 150.0 for Josh Hayes last time around. They qualified with qualifying tire, a Q tire on the back end of that motorcycle, only 0.3 of a second slower than that. Now, Jake, you have something going on down there. What's going on, bud?
Yeah, the number 25 of David Anthony's in the pits. The bike is overheating. It's dumping water out into the belly pan, and that was the reason he came in. At this high altitude, these bikes often overheat because they can't get enough air in them to cool them down during the race.
All right, thanks, Jake. Yeah, the Quicksilver latest motorsports racing Kawasaki ZX-10R of David Anthony. So it looks like they're going to work on that bike as we continue to watch this battle up front, as now Cam Beaubier has taken over the lead from Josh Hayes. So Cameron Beaubier not messing around right now, trying to set the pace. Can Josh Hayes hold on to it? We know that Hayes has been working feverishly to close the gap in terms of speed to his teammate, but now it's our championship points leader, Cam Beaubier, who's taken over the top spot as Hayes looks to take a tighter line and tries to get that R1 slowed down.
Well, we've said all year, these two guys are on the same bike, same team, but they ride differently. And if you watch Josh, he gets the bike turned in a lot earlier than Cameron in a lot of spots. Here in turn 6, they kind of went in the exact same place. But when you go down into turn 5, you see that Josh doesn't quite use as much track on his entry as does Cam. Doesn't really hurt either one of them. There's no big advantage gained from either one of those guys. It's just a different way of looking at things.
Now Tony Elias closing up on the back of Josh Hayes. So Cam Beaubier, you know, we've talked about this before, Jason. Both these riders, just actually all 4 of these riders would prefer to lead a race, which, you know, it really helps to push the pace out front. Cam Beaubier wants a clear racetrack. You get better look at lines. This is a wide racetrack, but there's some sections of this course where you just want to be leading.
Yeah, and Josh hates following. Now, we had a good discussion with Josh, and we got to pay attention here on this front straightaway. All weekend long, Josh's bike's been a little bit down on Cameron's, and one of the things he told us today is that they actually decreased the amount of seat foam. If you watch the way Josh is tucked in right now, he has a bump on the back of his seat that allows him to keep forward on the motorcycle. When he puts his butt up on top of that thing, he noticed that his mile an hour went down. As you can see, he's now making the pass going into turn 1.
Oh, and that is so close, and there goes Hayes right to position 1.
But what it's allowed it to do is it increased 2 miles an hour this morning over all the rest of the weekend just by making a small seat adjustment in the bike. So when you start talking about how much these guys ergonomically want to make their bikes fit for them and be comfortable for them, this was not only just an advantage for him there, but it actually helped him in top speed.
No stone goes unturned as Josh Hayes and his team took 1 inch. That's it. Lowered the back end of the seat by 1 inch to give him a couple extra mile an hour on that straightaway. And incredibly, that worked. Josh said that on average, he was anywhere from 4 to 5 mile an hour down. Oh, and it looks like Corey Alexander and his team in the pits.
They've been struggling a lot with the pickup of the throttle just off of, when the bike gets really slowed on that Ducati, they've got a little bit of a problem with just getting the throttle picked up. And so the thing is with that motorcycle, I was lucky enough to ride it a couple weeks ago at Mid-Ohio, and it was something that we've all been trying to get figured out for Corey. And he's a great rider, and they're going to get that thing figured out. But they've just got to get a couple little throttle issues figured out there. And you saw him with his hand there, so obviously it's still a bit of a problem as we go back up to the front.
14 laps remaining in this race. Under that is Josh Hayes, not content to follow his teammate Cameron Beaubier, goes back up to the front. So Josh Hayes leads the way. Beaubier, you can see where it's been kind of an accordion effect with Tony Elias right now. He's able to close up on the back of these Yamahas for a moment. And this second section of the racetrack, they're able to get it back from him a little bit. So now we see the newer Yamaha R1 in its second year, accelerating onto the front straightaway. And can Cam Beaubier get in the slipstream of Josh Hayes?
I think he's going to be able to do that. And you see Josh got a tremendous drive out of that last corner, but Cam is able to pull up alongside of him, but not make the pass. Josh is strong into turn 1. And, you know, all these guys, the lap times are all just so close. They're still running in the low 50s. And, you know, this is really, you got 13 laps to go, but they're all feeling each other out a little bit right now, just as far as who's doing what. You know, and Raj always shows so much patience back there. We saw him take a shot at Tony a little bit earlier, but he realizes that the two Yamahas right now are not getting away, and this race isn't going to get settled really, Greg, I don't believe, till the last 2, 3, 4 laps of this race.
Josh Hayes, last time around, a 150.1, continuing to push the issue. Beaubier a 50.5. They're all right in there, 50.4 for the 24 and a 50.3 for the 95.
It's only half a second off of what they qualified. So literally we said yesterday that Q is only worth about half a second. But these guys are running on race tires, and they're continuously only half a second off, which is pretty impressive.
Josh Hayes, Cam Beaubier. Looks a little bit like Roger Hayden for a moment there. Kind of lost a little drive. He's right back on the rear wheel of his teammate. As now they're starting to add of the attitudes. That's the turn 8, 9, and 10 area that they just went through. It looks like perhaps the Suzuki of Tony Elias is struggling just a little bit. You can see the couple bike lengths gap there. It also might be a situation, Jason, where you know at this point, okay, look, the pace is high. I mean, it's extremely high. Keep in mind, these riders qualified with a special qualifying tire just a couple tenths off of where they're racing right now. So a good look at Roger Hayden, the number 95, who's carrying our GoPro HeroCast camera. That's off the back shot. I'm sure a lot of people right now would say, hey, just pass one guy. Yeah. Just pass one person, Rod. Let's get a good shot of that onboard camera. But Roger Hayden holding on to the back of this group right now. Cameron Beaubier choosing to sit behind Josh Hayes as Hayes continues to have his way at the front with 12 laps to go.
And Josh gets such a good drive out of that last corner that Cameron has to pull out of the draft very late. Now that could just be something that Cameron is testing. But Josh is so strong into turn 1. When I walked and just looked at these guys down there, we got a big battle back here for 5th, and we got Jake Gagne, and then we got the first of our super stock riders, which is Josh Herron, Matthew Schultz right behind him, and of course Danny Eslick, who's been on fire this weekend, just right out of the box. He's been so fast. But we have 4 super stock bikes right behind Jake Gagne right now. They're all battling, and we can look at the GoPro HeroCast here off the back of Jake Gagne. A little bit more interesting from the back of Raj's bike right now, right? So we've got you can see everything that these guys are doing around this track. And this is, Jake gets a good drive out of turn 5, back shifts 1 gear down into turn 6. And you see Matthew Schultz now trying to just go underneath Josh Herrin.
Oh, how about that pass? So Schultz decides to hold it nice and tight, might lose a little bit of drive, and there it goes. So Schultz trying to make a move around Josh Herrin. Herrin able to hold the line he wanted to and get a superior drive. So that's Matthew Schultz, his first ride on this Yamalu Westby Racing Yamaha. He signed that deal. He'll be on this motorcycle for the rest of the season. And rumors swirl, unconfirmed, that he might be around for 2017. We wait for that press release to come out. So the young South African rider already in the mix. His first trip, of course, to Utah Motorsports Campus.
Yeah, these are great shots that we have. And right off the back of them, you see Claudio Corti back there. He's been all weekend long. He's been kind of just running those lap times. And the more laps he gets around this place, the better it'll be for him. But he's right in the mix because he lost a lot of points at the last round at Barber. We saw a big high side on entry coming into the last section of track there at Barber, and good to see he was up and okay, but he's right on the back of these guys.
This is the battle for 5th. So the motorcycle that's at the front of your screen right now, number 32, that's Jake Gagne. He's on a Superbike. You can tell from that white backing on that number plate. Right behind him is the battle for the Superstock 1000 race finish overall. So they're doing both overall and individual in class. That's red backing number plate. So Josh Herrin, number 2, the second bike in your screen, leads this championship by 18 points over Bobby Fong. So that battle continues to rage. A lot of championship ramifications back there in the Superstock 1000 as our group up front continues to push the pace. They are still going extremely fast in the 50 range. So it's Josh Hayes, Cameron Beaubier, number 4, number 1, Monster Energy Graves Yamaha. Then there's the 24 of Tony Elias. Now Jason, Tony has always got to use race 1 as a bit of a learning experience because this is his first time at Utah Motorsports Campus and his first race look at it. So he's learning as well.
And I'll tell you something that he's learned already. We watched the first couple sessions on Friday, or Thursday rather, and we're going through turn 11 now. This next section that we're coming into, turn 13 and turn 14, what I want you to pay attention to is all riders will go back 1 gear. Now you watch those 2 Yamahas. They go out of this left and they don't use any entry into this next right. Tony Elias is right behind them today. Earlier on in the weekend, he was opening up his entries into these corners a lot more than he is now. Now he's straight lining things much like the guys in front of him. Still, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, Greg, and he realized real early that the longer his bike was on the edge of the tire, the more he was giving up. Those guys can accelerate from 13 to 14 quicker than they can if they decide to go all the way back over to the left to open up the radius of turn 14. As you can see, Cameron again up underneath Josh Hayes, but not quite enough. And I think that he's just kind of testing that move.
Josh Hayes, number 4, leads the way, a 150.5 for the top 3 riders, the fastest rider on the racetrack last go around, last time they came by the stripe. Number 95, Roger Hayden, who's hanging on to the back of this group, so 50.555 for the top 3. So identical lap times. I think we've kind of talked about this at the beginning. All these riders anticipating exactly what we're seeing right now. No rider thought they had the pace to check out, nor did they really want to try to really check out. So Josh Hayes leads the way. Now let's take a look at a replay here of Josh Hayes, Cameron Beaubier. Great shot of our slow-mo camera. What are you seeing, JP?
This is just the last corner, and you're going to see all these guys. They're all rolling through it about the same. Josh has been able to get a really good drive out of this last turn. So obviously there's something that's made Josh a lot more comfortable. We haven't seen him lead a race like this in a long time to this extent. You can see how early he gets in his tuck. All the guys are using, you can see Cameron's running over some old rubber there, it looks like, but he's all those guys are getting tucked in early for that big front straightaway.
All these riders are veteran riders. There's no one in this class that's new to Superbike racing or new to racing in general. Every one of these riders has at least 1 championship in their racing career. They know what's at stake. There are 2 things going on in this race. One is I want to win. I want to get the most amount of points. 25 to win, 20 for second, 16 for third, and 13 for fourth. So the difference in this 10th or 2 of a second between first and fourth is going to be 9 points in this championship. that's going to be huge. It's absolutely huge. So everyone knows what's at stake here. They want to win. They're thinking win. But at the same time, the other side of their brain is thinking, I've also got to be conservative a little bit, and I don't want to throw this motorcycle down the road. Because in this series, no finish, no points, as Tony Elias decides to go crazy around the outside. And it looks like he's going to hold on for no. So back to third he goes. And they're side by side with Cam Beaubier. Whoa, that was really close.
I said earlier, Tony's so strong into turn one, and in that time there, and Raj goes underneath Tony for third and runs wide. Tony's going to go back underneath him. No, Raj able to squeeze him out there as they go through turn four. Very fast section. Those guys got to just be careful. They don't let these two guys get away in front of them. But maybe maybe Tony, maybe Raj both think that this pace needs to be picked up again. We've been watching the lap times. They ran 50.0 2 laps ago. Now they've gone into the 50.5, 50.7. And as you can see, now we've got some great camera footage of Tony from the back of Raj's bike. And these guys now, with 9 to go, are starting to think maybe we can push this pace up a little bit more.
So the GoPro Hero Cast testing it this weekend is doing extremely well for us as we see Tony Elias right now. We can see the lines that he's taken versus Roger Hayden. So Tony Elias took a shot about 3/4 of a lap ago, and this is how it paid off for him, from first to fourth.
Yeah, and Greg, something that you can look at, looking at that front straightaway again, the two Yamahas, 184 mile an hour. Tony went 190 mile an hour. That's how big a difference that draft can make. 6 mile an hour. He's literally 6 mile an hour quicker than the Yamahas, but that's purely draft, okay? So Raj even was at 186 back there in fourth, picking up that draft. So we're going to see now, does Tony go back by his teammate down the straightaway? Will Cameron, who looks a little bit closer this time on the back of Josh as they exit that last corner, will he be able to do something with him down this front straight?
Good look at our onboard shot, 150.6 for the leaders, 151.1 for Elias, as that was a great shot of our GoPro Hero Cast camera, once again, that we're trying out. Oh, and here's the back to the battle for the Superstock 1000 race inside the race, and it's Matthew Schultz who's now taken over that key position. As we see off in the distance, it looks like Jake Gagne has faded back there to 9th spot, so now it's the MotoAmerica rookie filling in just a couple races ago from South Africa. This rider on the 720 on that Yamalube Westby Racing machine over the Wheels in Motion Mean Motorsports yellow and black #2. Well, he's actually currently leading the South African Superbike Championship, and he has to go back to South Africa in the next couple of months and finish off that championship. So this rider with a lot on his plate, adapting very well to the Utah Motorsports Campus racetrack. Ooh, a little bit of a bobble there.
Yeah, but he has done a fantastic job. Any bike he's ridden in the last 3 rounds since MotoAmerica, he's done such a fine job, and it's great to see that bike is up in the front where it belongs. And we're going to go back here. Josh Hayes, Cameron Beaubier, Raj, all still very glued together. And the one thing that we always say about Tony, he has a tendency, he can fall back. It doesn't bother him to take a little bit of a breather almost and fall back. Right now it looks like he's falling off the back of these guys. Just watching about another 3 laps, he'll be right back up there with him, guaranteed.
And still looking at the top speed, though, even when Tony had kind of lost that draft, still able to do 189.3 miles an hour. Now, Jason, I know this is kind of a ridiculous thing to think about, but can you imagine how fast this course would be if this was at sea level?
Yeah, it's amazing, because the thing is, though, Greg, that said, you'd have to be a little bit more careful how you'd roll the throttle on your exits. So even though, yeah, I agree, it's beyond fast down this front straightaway, but these guys can roll the throttle on a lot sooner than they can at normal places. So, but yeah, I think that the mile an hour would probably be at least another 3 or 4 mile an hour quicker.
So one of the reasons at altitude, the teams, Jason and I talked to a bunch of teams, and we've kind of surmised that we're looking at about a 20% power loss from, say, sea level to this altitude where we are outside of Salt Lake City. And so that allows these Superbike riders to really ride it closer to how you would ride a 600 at normal altitude. Is that safe to say? Pretty safe to say. I think you still have to respect the 1,000, but the 600s for sure. When those guys are out there riding, they can pick up the throttle quite a bit earlier. So, I'm paying close attention right now to Raj. He looks real racy to me. It looks like probably here in the next couple of laps, he's going to really try something. He's able to pull back up on the back of these guys fairly easy. He brought Tony along with him. But I think Raj, I think getting that monkey off his back at the last round and winning that race at Barber, especially with all of his family and stuff there, definitely has motivated him. And now I think he realizes that
this is the closest he's been to winning or being involved in a Superbike championship this late in the year. And I think that's maybe the little bit extra motivation that I see him riding with today, for sure.
You know, we look at the what shoulda, couldas, and all that during the race season, and really the disaster for Roger Hayden and actually the entire Yoshimura Suzuki crew was back in round 3 at New Jersey Motorsports Park with the rain conditions. Roger at that point had finished second, third, and then a 9th and a 17th, and then he went right back at VIR to a podium finish, 4th, 2nd, 4th, and then a win and a 2nd place finish. So Roger, he's really building, he has built a tremendous amount of confidence. We think that Tony Elias, with his arrival here in the United States, has not pushed the development of the Suzuki GSX-R 1000 as much as it's pushed Roger mentally just to go quicker, and he understands the pressure provided by a teammate.
Yeah, and all that Yoshimura team, their team, I mean, Tony and Raj get along awesome. All the crews down there, they're working hard together, and you know, they're trying their best to get that as good as they can. As we go back to our Superstock leader here, Matthew Schultz, still leading the way over Josh Herron. Josh is tucked in his draft pretty deep there, Greg. Looks like he's going to try to pull out of that draft and do something, but he's not quite up alongside of him enough to get by him as they head off into turn 1. And all the while, I think there's going to be some fireworks because Danny's just kind of sitting there and he's watching these two, and he's been fast all weekend, and Danny's just back there kind of seeing how this is going to play out. All 3 of these riders are very aggressive riders, but we know that Danny and Josh have had some history. They have a tremendous amount of respect for each other, though.
Superbikes, right now, this is the front where the leaders are racing. That battle we just saw was for the Superstock 1000 race, and that was for 5th, 6th, and 7th place. So now up front, it continues to be Josh Hayes. He's leading the way. I think Cameron passed him earlier, tried to push the issue, perhaps see if he had the pace to break away, and that's when Josh Hayes said, no, man, I got you. I'm right here. And then Cam said, okay, fine. Hayes, you want to lead? I'll let you lead, and we're going to see how this thing all plays out. So now, Jason, 6 laps to go, okay? Yep. You're getting an opportunity. Everyone's had an opportunity to see the pace, the lines, the speed. What are you thinking right now in terms of race strategy?
Do you see that right there?
Yeah.
Josh is able to, I've been noticing this lap after lap, Josh's bike has been able to get turned so much better through turn 13 than Cam. Cam's bike runs a little bit wide early. They try to carry the same speed in there, but Cam's bike isn't quite getting to the same spot on the exit as Josh. Josh is so strong. You see the gap he's pulled? I know it doesn't look like much on camera, but that is actually a pretty significant gap that he can pull. That gap is allowing him to go down this front straightaway and not have to worry about getting drafted. So I'm sure even when you're a lead rider, you can feel somebody drafting you. Whenever he's feeling that, he's feeling it late. If he can get off those last 2 turns the way he's been doing it for the majority of this race, it's going to be difficult for anybody to draft Josh down that straightaway. So what it's going to come down to is Cameron might have to slow his entry speed into 13 ever so slightly so that he can run the same line and get on the gas as early as he would like to going down into turn 14, because Josh is real strong there. But look, all through here, Cameron is so strong, he's going to try something in turn 5.
So here comes Cameron Beaubier alongside. Nope, Josh Hayes deep into the corner. A nice tight line. You can see that Cam Beaubier has got to wait for just an extra moment in order to get the motorcycle at full lean angle. So Hayes continues to lead the way with Roger Hayden and Tony Elias right behind. Elias was as much as 1 second behind. Now look at Cam trying to get the thing turned and up on the meat of the tire.
Well, I think he realizes that if he's going to make a pass...
Oh, wow, whoa, that was a close one, as it looked like Beaubier had a thought about just running it right up the inside of Hayes. Hayes had another thought.
Yeah, he's testing all the areas that he thinks he might be able to do something, because I think he realizes how good Josh is all down through this section here. When you come up to this corner here, turn 11, you got to get as good a drive as you can and be right behind the guy to do something with anybody in turn 13. Now, Cameron has got a great drive out of here. Let's see if he ducks inside Josh here. He can't. But let's see. This is where Cameron's bike is. He slowed his entry speed down a little bit there. Do you see he's on the same pace there? So now he's not letting Josh get away as much. He's going to go through here. He's going to be closer to Josh than he has been pretty much the last 2 or 3 laps. I think he's going to be able to draft him this lap, Greg, with 4 to go.
So it doesn't take just animal instinct to ride these motorcycles. You got to have a bit of a brain in you, and you got to make adjustments while you're riding. And it looks like that's what Cam Beaubier is doing right now, as he's closer to Josh Hayes in the last couple laps. He pulls out from the slipstream. Now they go into turn 1, and Cameron Beaubier dives to the inside, and now Beaubier takes over the position. No, runs wide, and Hayes gets him right back.
Yep, but it's all set up through turn 13, 14, 15, where we talked about the reason why Cam was able to do that. Now he knows he can. You can see his bike is moving around a little bit now. He opens up the entry here into turn 4, 3 and 4, a little bit more than Josh, and he's extremely faster here. But Josh runs such a tight line into turn 5. If you're going to go by him, it's going to be you're going to have to go down the outside of him. You can see how early he gets his bike turned in, and what has this done? It's brought Tony Elias right back into the mix.
So Tony's back in the mix. Also, as Cam Beaubier threw a shot there at Josh Hayes, now all of a sudden Hayes' body language looks a little bit different, and he looks a little bit rushed as now Tony Elias is going up the inside of Roger Hayden. So he holds it tight, tries to get a drive, but it looks like Roger's able to get on the gas, and that's going to hold those two guys up right now. And I'm sure this is exactly what Roger Hayden did not want to see. Any little gap from these Yamahas is a gap you don't want to have.
And what's so good about that, if you really look at that again, Raj and Tony gave each other a ton of room. They realized if they mess with each other too much, these two guys are going to get away. Both Raj could have closed that door, and Tony could have got a lot closer and ran Raj wide on the exit of turn 6, and he didn't do that. They're still in touch.
The GoPro Hero Cast Live onboard camera right now, you can see it looks a lot further away than it really is as Tony Elias continues to hound his teammate Roger Hayden. And Tony's so racy right now, just trying to find a way to the front. When he makes little mistakes, though, he just loses that gap. And time is running out for Tony Elias, as now we start to get in some lap traffic. Up onto the front straightaway we go once again.
But he's close enough again, Greg, and now he's got another there's going to be a double draft here. He's going to be close enough to Josh to get by him. Now, can he get the bike slowed down enough to where Josh won't cut back underneath him? And he will this time. He will lead out of turn 1. And now we're going to see if Cameron has some extra pace on him to do anything. But I expect, Josh is going to fire right back. Josh got that tight line into turn 5. If he can get a good run through turn 3 here and turn 4, he's going to fire right back at Cameron. You can see he gets that bike turned in awful early. And you can actually utilize a little bit of draft through here because this is all wide open. This is 3rd up to 4th gear. You can utilize a little bit of a slingshot draft, but Josh isn't quite close enough.
Number 1, Cameron Beaubier fighting with his teammate. Number 4, Josh Hayes just off back there. Number 95, Roger Hayden, and 24, Tony Elias. Those are teammates right now, and this is the battle for the Superbike Championship and the win here in race number 1 at Utah Motorsports Campus. As now Cameron Beaubier, it looks like he's been able to figure out some faster lines that suit him, and as Josh Hayes is not dictating the pace, it looks like Cam Beaubier might have found something.
He's extremely fast from turn 6 all the way to the attitudes where they're heading into right now. You're going to see Tony back there flipping right, back to the left. This is where we saw Kyle Wyman early in the race just catch that curbing. But Cameron's trying to pull the pin right now. He's looking at his splits. These are the fastest splits that he has ran all race, the first 2 segments. This is where Josh is really good, though. So if Cam keeps it tight in here, and he's got the bike, and you can see Josh runs a little bit wide that time, but he's got a big enough gap right now where it's going to be very difficult for Josh to draft him.
As Cam Beaubier starts to lead this race and try to make a break with less than 3 laps to go, it looks like it's hurry-up time. So here we go onto the front straight. We're going to get a good look at the lap time. Wow, 49.776, the fastest lap of the race this late in the race. Boy, those Dunlop tires are working perfectly. So Cam Beaubier sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:49.776. That is just about a 10th off of where he qualified. That is absolutely ripping fast. Super Stock 1000 battle back to Matthew Stoltz on the 720. Yamalube Westby Racing, number 2. Is Josh Harrington just back there, the 69 of Danny Eslick.
Yeah, you got to think that Josh is just sitting there because we've seen this over and over again, and he's not in a big hurry to get by. And this is why I think that when you talk about Josh and you hear him say that he needs to kind of get everybody's faith back in him, I don't think that's the case. He's using his head so much more. He's showing that he is a champion from Superbike category in the past, and he's had plenty of opportunities to go by Matthew. Now the thing is that maybe he feels he's not going to be able to just break him, or maybe he feels he just wants to break him on the last lap. But right now, Josh has been so good about just staying in second, being very patient. As I say that, of course, he's going to go underneath him, isn't he, Greg?
And there he goes. Oh, and that's so close. As Herron had his foot off the peg, he knew he was in there a little bit too deep, but maybe it's that time of the race with about a lap and a half to go for these guys. It looks like Herron trying trying to make a move, but Schultz doesn't care. Matthew going underneath Josh Herrin again. This might work in the 69's favor as Danny Eslick is hanging back there, and side by side they go again. Look at this battle for Superstock 1000. Herrin, Schultz going at it, back and forth. 5 wins so far in the season for Josh Herrin. He's on a 4-win streak right now. And Matthew Schultz, when he's finished a race, he's finished either 3rd. His worst finish is 5th in this series so far in the Superstock 1000 class.
And I guarantee you that number 69's got a big grin under his feet as we start the last lap of the race right now, and Josh Hayes is still close enough. So I'm expecting a move from Josh either out of turn 2. You see Raj getting that thing back there in 3rd, but we're going to go through turn 1 here. Next, we're going to swing over to the left. We're going to go through this next right. Josh is extremely tight as he gets into turn 3. Is he going to be able to pull up alongside of Cameron out of here? He's not. His next big shot's going to be turn 5. These guys now coming onto the front straight for their final lap.
So hold on to your breath right now. Grab your chair. Don't move anything. Tell the family to keep it quiet because we have 2 amazing races going on as Matthew Schultz on the 720 tries the inside line on Josh Herrin. Boy, they almost touched. They were so close. And look at Danny Eslick. Now he's closed up. This is the battle for 5th. And here's the leaders back up front. So it's the number 1 of Cameron Beaubier still holding off the number 4 of Josh Hayes.
Yeah, but this is great news for Josh. He's been able to stay close to these guys. He's led the race. He's done a lot of the work up at the front. But these 2 Yamaha guys now are starting to pull away from the Yosh guys. They're going to settle it amongst themselves. It's all going to come down to how they both get out of turn 13. This is 12. No, I'm sorry, that's turn 10. This is up to turn 11 now. How are they going to get out of turn 11 is going to be the key, as if Josh can get up alongside of him as they head into turn 13. Right now, he is not close enough. Cam's just got to keep it very clean through this specific part of the track, and it'll be very hard for Josh to do anything with him.
Josh Hayes trying to get a drive out of his Yamaha R1. You can see the rear end of the motorcycle dancing around as he applies the throttle. He's trying to find something sideways. Under acceleration goes the number 4. That might have been the race. Here we come. Final corner. The drag race down to the start-finish line. And it looks like Cameron Beaubier will take victory over Hayes. Roger Hayden in 3rd. Tony Elias in 4th.
What an awesome race. Cameron just did exactly what he needed to do as we get back to this Superstock battle. Herrin's got himself a little bit of a gap, and again, he's controlled that speed very well as they head into turn 13, 14, 15. This looks like it could be the way that this order finishes unless Danny tries to do something with Matthew in this last corner, but Matthew runs it in there very tight. He knows that there's somebody right behind him.
So here we go, the Superstock 1000 battle. To the line we come. Josh Herrin with a masterful race will take his 5th Superstock 1000 race win in a row. What a streak going on for the number 2, Matthew Schultz, his best finish in MotoAmerica competition, and you can see how happy Josh Herrin is. This race played out exactly the way he wanted to. He wanted that race when he wants to pad his lead in this championship, and he is absolutely pumped. Boy, hats off to Josh Hayes. What a great race. A lot of people asking the question this weekend, oh, Hayes, you're 4th, you're this, you're that, you're going to retire. I think Hayes just answered that question on how much fun he has racing a motorcycle and racing against the national champion, Cameron Beaubier.
Yeah, Cameron Beaubier, how about 49.7, like you said, Greg, with just 2 laps to go. He was able to get by Josh, put his head down, do a great job. But I'm happy for Josh because I've heard all those same things about, is he going to retire? People come up to me all the time and are asking me that.
Yeah.
This guy's not done racing. Josh has still got so much life in him as far as a rider goes, and he's so good. And I think that when you hear this interview, he's going to be pretty happy with the changes that they've made. There's still a lot of time left in this championship, and for him to be competitive again, and I say that with all the respect I can because the guy's 2nd in points, or he's right there with everybody. The thing is that he wants to win races, and I think today he's shown that he's still going to be capable of doing that towards the end of the season.
Roger Hayden, this is the GoPro HeroCast camera that we're giving a go this weekend. A good look at Tony Elias. Tony Elias, what a fighter. I mean, he just threw some shots. They didn't pan out for him in this race, but he's going to go back in his brain, that data logger, and he's going to really start to review how his race went, and he's going to come out fighting the 2nd race this afternoon.
Yeah, all 3 of these guys are bummed that the guy that won.
Because he extends his points lead.
Extends his points lead, and so pretty much any order other than Cameron winning, all these guys will probably be pretty happy. These 2 guys here are going to be a little bit probably a little bit discouraged, but they're going to try to go back. And we always know that Tony goes back and makes changes to his bike. Be interested to see if Cameron does anything, or if Josh goes more in the same direction that he's been going this week with his crew. He found something yesterday before our Super Pole, or our qualifying, and it seemed to make a difference. So will they continue to go that same direction for him?
Incredible race from the Superbike and Superstock 1000 field here as Cameron Beaubier wins over Josh Hayes and Roger Hayden. And what lap times they were putting in. They did not vary in lap times, just a couple of tenths a second the entire race. We'll take a break here on beIN Sports. On the other side, we're going to hear from Cam Beaubier and find out how his race went. Well, we hope your heart rate has started to settle down just a little bit after that exciting race in both classes. Margin of victory on that one, 0.171. By the way, Cameron Beaubier's fastest lap was a 1:49.776. The average, 99.9 miles an hour. So make sure, hey, tweet us that you're watching this show. Hashtag #BeInMotoAmerica. That way we can search that hashtag and see what you're tweeting about. Tell us you're watching the show, and maybe even later on in the broadcast, we'll put your tweet up on air. And of course, you can check out the website at beinsportsusa.com. So, Cameron Beaubier, what a masterful race. Jason, let's take a look at the results right now, because Beaubier 0.171 over Josh Hayes to extend his points lead. Roger Hayden 1.1 back. Tony Elias right there. And then there was that magnificent battle for the Superstock 1000.
Yeah, Josh Herron, Matthew Schultz, Danny Eskin put on a great show. Jake Gagne, we saw him up there early with those guys. Maybe there was a mistake made. Finishes 8th. Bobby Fong 9th. So coming from as far back as he is, he's 4th today in the Superstock class. He is running 2nd in this championship, so we'll see what that does with the points. Claudio Corti falls all the way back down there to 5th in the class, 10th overall. We saw him on the back of that lead group also. Sheridan Marias, Jake Lewis, Taylor Knapp, Hayden Gillum, and Braden Elliott all the way from Australia rounds out our top 15.
Steve Rapp in the mix as well, still working on a BMW S1000RR as that team, Scheibe Racing, switched one race ago to the Superbike class, wanting more adjustability. And this is the points, of course, some of these riders here, some of these riders out, not scoring any points. Kyle Wyman, David Anthony, of course, Corey Alexander, we saw them in the pits. So they'll get another shot at it later on today. But for right now, let's go down to Jake Zemke with our 3rd place finisher.
Here with Roger Hayden. Raj, you guys were really close to that race. Are you going to make some changes for race 2?
Yeah, I think we're going to make a few little changes, try to get off the corner a little better. But it was a good race. Hats off to Cam and Josh. They rode a great race. They were a little better than us today. So hopefully we can make a few changes and be a little closer in that second race. And, you know, we were right there. I was hoping they started dicing it up a little bit more there in the last lap and maybe open up a hole for me. But that didn't happen. So I got to thank the whole Yoshimura Suzuki crew for giving me a great bike, and looking forward to race 2.
All right. Thanks, Raj. Good job.
All right, good job. So there you go. Little wishful thinking during the race. Of course, we've seen it before when that happens, but they're going to go back to the drawing board in these next hour or two and make some changes to that bike.
Very rarely do you see Cameron and Josh mix it up enough to really slow them up. Obviously, we saw the incident at Road Atlanta, which was very uncharacteristic. But other than that, those two guys race each other pretty clean. So, you know, for Raj and Tony to get in there, they're going to have to get in there. And but again, Raj gets that 3rd place, gets his points. We've got 5 more rounds to go.
All right, let's go back down to Jake Zemke with our 2nd place finisher.
We're down here with Josh Hayes. Josh, you know, that was a dogfight to the end. Tell us about it.
You know, I was very excited. I was really happy to be in the race at the lead and doing lap times that were, you know, nearly what I qualified. So I was pretty pumped to be up there and have such a good pace going. Disappointed to lose one so close. You know, I had a couple of good shots at Cam at the last lap, but I just to do it, I had to turn underneath him, and I didn't quite have the grip I needed to get it done. So I'm really pleased with the race. You know, I've been struggling. I've been riding 4th all damn weekend. So to get in there and lead it most of the race and to get a 2nd gives me some hope, and I'm looking forward to this afternoon's race again.
Yeah, Josh, you definitely look more comfortable on the bike than we've seen you in the last few races. Were those some changes you guys made?
No, actually, you know, the last changes we made were for qualifying, and we're just riding the bike. And, you know, what can I say? It's race time. Race time's my time, I guess. You know, I ride better when it comes to race time, and that's what counts, so I'll take it.
All right, congratulations, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so Jason, you called it. I mean, that's really, you know, Josh is that is a different interview than we've seen in the last couple of races for him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Josh, this guy is 4-time champion, and anybody that counts him out, it actually makes me laugh. I hear the mutterings in the paddock and things, and I don't know how you count him out. The guy is so good, and he's so smart when it comes to bike setup. And, you know, admittedly, he'll tell you that they struggled a little bit as we're going to get back down here to Cameron Beaubier with a big smile, Jake.
Yeah, Cameron Beaubier is smiling real big down here. Cam, you know, that race went, I would say, just about to perfection for you. It looked like you were just kind of hanging back waiting for those last few laps.
Yeah, pretty much exactly that. Man, at the beginning I was struggling a little bit with those guys on the brakes into 1 and into 5, and I just slowly started chipping away and getting a little bit more comfortable running it in there with Josh. And yeah, I mean, my bike, I was just trying to conserve the rear tire, you know, and because I felt like I had really good race pace in qualifying and the practices on Thursday. So yeah, I was able to pass and make it stick. I thought I screwed it all up on the last lap when I went wide into 5, but I was able to regain it and come away with the win. But we got one more, and just big thanks to Monster Energy Graves Yamaha, and all the glory to the man above.
All right, congratulations, Cam.
All right, so Cameron Beaubier enjoying that win. That was really a masterful performance. I mean,
Yeah.
he went to school on Josh Hayes, and he was patient in that race. It came to him, and he did a great job to win it.
He's kind of like a quiet champion because he's so understated, but he's so good to watch ride a motorcycle, and he's such a good planner. And we saw it even when he was on 600s, how he would just kind of go through the things that he needed to do, and his wheels are always in line. It's great, and I think he's going to be obviously really hard again today. But we look at the points currently now. Josh Hayes, 18 points back. Raj Hayden, 23, and you can see how big of a difference it makes it. Tony's gone from 19 points back now to 31 points.
So there's the net difference in what happened. So Beaubier extending his lead over the entire field, and Josh Hayes able to break away ever so slightly. So the order hasn't changed, just the gaps start to increase. Jake Gagne with a few points for his effort. He was able to finish 8th overall, which is 8 points, so he added to his tally after he missed the last race. Kyle Wyman, of course, crashing out early in the race after getting that engine case in contact with part of the racetrack, and he goes down. But it's Matthew Schultz with his great result that starts to climb up the leaderboard. So a look on back, 19th through 27th. A lot of these riders like Max Flinders and Anthony Kaczynski, you know, they're chipping away at it. You see 5-6 points. Keep in mind that when you have a field that's 9 rows deep, we only pay back to 15th position in this series, and 15th nets you 1 point. So when we get back to these privateers that are making a name for themselves, scoring a point or 2 is something they're very happy to get.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it's all about, just doing your laps. And we see a lot of families here, a lot of dads with their kids getting their guys up on super bikes now, and if you can get in that top 15 and you earn a point, it really does mean something here. So we'll look down here at the Dunlop podium, and you can see the 2 Yamaha guys very happy, and of course Raj getting interviewed. You know, it'll be interesting to see what changes get made, and we get to do this all over again, so I'm pumped for that.
You know, it's nice to see teammates that are definitely friends and friendly. Cameron Beaubier standing on top of the box with Josh Hayes, and those riders right there, they all get along, and they all know how to race each other cleanly.